And if this is your first time giving your mind a little love, I have a few goodies for you. First, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And second, sign up for the Morning Mind Love. Think of it like a weekday oracle from your highest self to help you start each day with a positive focus. Plus, you'll get 2 gifts absolutely free: a 30-minute binaural meditation and 30 days of journaling prompts to help you remember who you truly are. So join over 9,000 people and go to mindlove.com to sign up. Welcome to Mind Love, episode 286. Today's episode is all about changing your relationship with money with the happy money mindset.
I spent $100,000 for the gift, but I got more for book royalty as a result of giving. So in spirituality, all the gift you give is stored somewhere. I call it heaven's account. And it's stored somewhere. And once again, also, if you have lost money in the past with cryptocurrency investing or stock or scam, it's not completely lost forever. I think it's stored somewhere in the heaven because the goddess of abundance came in and said, oh, you don't know how to control money. So we're going to confiscate the money and just store it temporarily at the heaven's safe deposit. And when you're ready, we'll send the money back. I think that's a deal. And a lot of people want to know the passcode. So the passcode is in your heart.
Turn up your frequency with Mind Love. Bite-sized brain hacks for seekers, dreamers, and doers. It's time to give your mind a little love with your host, Melissa Monti.
If this is your first time giving your mind a little love, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Mind love is a habit, and the more you give your mind that love and intention, the better you'll feel about yourself and your life. Plus, it's really a win-win because more subscribers means Mind Love attracts even more amazing guests to bring you their wisdom. So don't forget to subscribe. Today, I would love to share a review from Clary Belly, who says, "A must listen. This show is so real and authentic. The stories are so inspirational, raw, and refreshing. I love the insights and the content on here. 10 out of 10. Well, thank you so much. I loved receiving this all the way from the Philippines. It just blesses my heart that there's people listening all around the world. So thank you for taking the time to leave this review. What emotions come up when you think about money? What about when you think of your particular money situation? For a lot of people, money is a source of negative feelings like fear, stress, and anger. And because of this, finances can break apart relationships and even ruin lives. But in reality, money is just a number on a piece of paper. It's also an illusion in a way. It's a social construct that we've all agreed to. We've decided that it has value, to exchange goods and services, to be a measure of wealth. But it also holds power over our emotional states. We tie our financial situations directly to our social status, which influences our self-worth and our self-esteem. Money has become an obsession for people, whether you have it or not. Most people are either consumed with accumulating as much as possible, or it's the center of their stress and their conflicts. And it all comes down to our relationships with money. Some people have a healthy relationship with money, understanding its value and using it as a tool to achieve their goals. They budget their money, they save for the future, and use credit responsibly. And other people, I'd say most people, have a negative relationship with money, viewing it as a source of stress or constantly striving for more without a clear plan on how to use it wisely, which can lead to overspending, debt, and financial instability. And this relationship usually stems from our upbringings, the things we heard about money, how we learned or didn't learn about it. I don't think I've ever had the best relationship with money. My husband and I talk about it a lot because we had different financial experiences as children, but came out with some similarities in mindset. He grew up hearing things like, "That's going to cost money that we don't have," and "We can't afford that," quite often. His family was rich in love and land, but he perceived that they were financially poor. I grew up pretty typical middle class. My stepdad had a good job. My mom stayed at home. And yeah, I heard "we can't afford that" a number of times. And even knowing that we were comfortable enough, I remember feeling panic. Like, what does it mean if we can't afford something? How will we buy food? Is there no more money left? But overall, I think if we could go back and choose, we both wished that we would have learned more about building wealth, things like investing or passive income. So it's one of the things that we are determined to master. Things like finding ways to make our money work for us so that it actually grows instead of just putting it in an account at a 1% interest rate so that big banks can loan it out to everyone else and they profit off of it. The whole system is screwed. But the only way that we can pass down a better mindset to our kids is if we first transform our own. Shane and I have noticed that our mindsets around money will have an almost immediate impact on our financial situations. There have been times that we've both been really stressed, but we've come together to help each other just get into a better mental state, and then immediately a payment will come through. It's kind of wild, but that's the way life seems to work in general. I wake up in a bad mood and immediately stub my toe. Or I get mad at another driver on the road, and then 4 more slow drivers will suddenly appear. I believe that we encounter, or you could even say, create situations that will keep us in the emotional state or the vibrational frequency that we're already in. So when we apply this to money, the worse we feel about it, chances are, the worse our situations will become. But there's the catch-22. How do you feel good about money when it's a source of struggle? Well, that's what we're talking about today. Our guest is Ken Honda. He's a best-selling self-development author in Japan, with book sales surpassing 7 million copies since 2001. And his latest book is called Happy Money, The Japanese Art of Making Peace with Your Money. So 3 key things we will learn are how to uncover our own personal meanings around money and why it's important, the truth behind the myth of scarcity, and how to transform your financial mindset even when it stresses you out. I used to be one of those people who had grand plans for a big healthy meal every Sunday night, and I'd make these elaborate meal plans, buy all the ingredients, and then Wednesday would roll around and I'd be staring at that wilted spinach, ordering takeout again. Shopping, planning, and cooking food really can be simple and stress-free, and that's why I love Hungry Root. Hungry Root takes stress out of mealtime by filling your cart with personalized picks and planning your week of meals, getting smarter with every order. With over 15,000 recipes to choose from each week, many ready in just 15 minutes or less, it's so perfect for those nights when you have no energy left. What I love most is their smart cart technology. It actually learns what I like and what I will actually cook. So no more buying ingredients for recipes that I'll never make. Everything that shows up, I actually use. They screen out over 200 additives, including high fructose corn syrup and artificial sweeteners, only high quality meat and seafood with no hormones or antibiotics, and they carry brands like Vital Farms and Ithaca Hummus that I already trust. The time I've gotten back has been incredible. Instead of spending Sunday meal planning, I'm doing things that actually matter to me. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/mindlove and use code MINDLOVE. That's hungryroot.com/mindlove, code MINDLOVE, to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/mindlove, code MINDLOVE. And now let's welcome Zen millionaire Ken Honda.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm so happy to be here. I practiced your name a few times. I hope I said it right.
Oh, yeah, it was perfect. So I'm curious, how did you get to where you are? How did you become a writer who helped people with money?
A lot of people ask me the question. I always ask, how long can I share? Because I've written, people say, wow, your experience is like, you can write a whole book. And I have written over 100 books. So, my mother always used to tell me that you talk too much. So, I'll just give you the short version. So I was retired for my baby girl when I was 29. And it's almost like 24 years. My wife and I found out that she was pregnant. So I thought we didn't have a different time line. I thought for 2 weeks, maybe, Japanese guys work hard. And my wife meant like a year. Like, well, what? Like, time off of our schedule, 2 weeks for me in my mind and a year for her. And okay, I agreed to have little time off, and 2 weeks just went so fast. And another week, and then, I started to slow down. So we ended up having a 4 year break off of our life. So we just concentrated on child raising for 4 years. And during the 4 years, I had this inspiration to write. And before that, I was doing accounting, consulting, and during the semi-retirement as an investor. I made a living, or we had enough financial background, so we were concentrating on a baby girl. Probably 3 years into the semi-retirement, I got this inspiration to write, and I wrote something. My friend said, "That's great," and he asked me to write more, which I did. So I ended up writing 26-page short essays on happiness and money, and that became a booklet, and later on that became a book and a national bestseller, sold about 100,000 copies, and the rest is history.
I know that you've read or written a bunch of books, so you've actually been on my radar a while, so I'm excited for this interview. But
Yes, me too.
the most recent book, Happy Money, you had this really unique story that inspired it. Can you share it?
Which one?
About the woman taking your wallet.
Okay, that one.
Yes.
I have a lot of stories. So I was at the party, I think in Nagoya, where I was chatting with 4 or 5 people. They asked me questions. And this woman approached me and she tapped me on the shoulders and said, Ken, can I take a look at your wallet? And at the time, people were interested in celebrities' wallet. Wouldn't you be interested in Justin Bieber's wallet, Mariah Carey? They do even have a wallet. And so there is a magazine article, which one is good, the big one and the small ones. And so I said, okay, well, I feel a little validated. Whoa, so you think of me as like a celebrity? But I said, make sure, give it back to me. Japan is a safe country. When you leave your belongings, people report it to police, or at the Starbucks, I go to a bathroom with my, stuff on my seat. Nobody bothers. And she said, okay. And she was checking something. So I got distracted from our conversation. And she was saying, this is good, this is okay, oh, this is nice. So I got really curious. And she said, Ken, all your money is good. So you passed the test. I said, whoa, what did I pass? And she said, all your money is smiling. So that means you must have made a lot of people happy. And as a result, you received this money. So you're a happy man. And I said, whoa, that's interesting. And she said, on the other hand, your money can be crying in your wallet or getting angry in your wallet. And I said, why is that? It's because the way you receive money by doing what you don't like, or you take advantage of other people, and as a result, your money is crying in your wallet. And I said, wow, that's interesting. And she really put me into thinking on that night. So I thought of many friends and uncles. Oh, that person's wallet, definitely money is crying. I have a best friend, must be smiling. So since then, I categorized my friends and people I meet into 2 people. Money smiling people and money sad people. And later on, I just name it happy money. So people with happy money or unhappy money.
So it sounds like the difference between happy money and unhappy money is the way that you earn it. Is that correct?
The way you receive it and also the way you spend it. So happy money gives you joy when you receive it because, your client, your company chose you out of thousands of other candidates as a coach or employee. So you feel so happy and blessed for receiving the money. So instead of complaining, how can I make both ends meet with this? People get upset over the money they receive. That is unhappy money. And on the other hand, when you spend it, does that give you joy? Once again, a lot of us are feeling frustrated when we take a look at the bill. We feel like, overwhelmed. Electricity and gas and a lot of things prices are going up. So we feel pinched. And then I don't want to pay, and then you gradually pay for the bills. That is unhappy money.
So when we have these feelings around the way we receive it, the way we spend it, do you find that most of it is based on how we're dealing with it in the present moment, such as how we just earned it or what we're spending it on? Or do our past experiences and the programming or the language that we've learned around money, how much does that affect if our money is happy or not? Our past experiences and the programming or the language that we've learned around money, how much does that affect if our money is happy or not?
Yeah, great, Melissa. You're asking me great questions. Thank you. That's exactly the point. Have you ever had this experience like you're feeling so good about shopping, and the second you thought of like, oh, this is great. I worked so hard. So for a Christmas present for your partner and for yourself, this is worth it. And at the exact time of payment, your mom, who passed away a few years ago, is telling you that's too expensive. Like, are you worth it? And then, mom, you passed away. Don't tell me what to do or what not to do. So our programming definitely influences us. At the same time, we can have this option, the choice at the present moment. But our life is not that simple. As much as we want to choose our path, at the same time, we're being heckled and told from the back. Could be your grandparents who are saying like, during the Depression time, we had a hard time, so I think you should save your money. So it's not your voice. It could be grandparents' voice through your parents. So by the time you're born, your grandparents may not be there, but still the programming in the 1930s, back then, almost like 90 years ago, passed on through your parents.
Yeah, I was already hearing voices as you were explaining that. Although I
Yes,
think sometimes
exactly.
mine's my husband. He's a little bit more of a stickler. I'm the spender, he's the saver, which is a nice
good
little
combination.
balance. But one of the questions that you ask people early on is what money means to them. Why is that question important? What does it uncover?
So my favorite question is, if money was a person, who would it be? Would that be a fun, exciting person, or would that be a scary, like assassin type of people? It depends on your financial situation and also emotional situation. Because if you are a happy person, happy money people, money is very friendly and also very forgiving, generous, and the money will be right there when you need it. And if you go to hospital, he or she will be right there. And then if you want to go on a vacation, she or he will say, like Expedia, got it. And then all the details are taken care of. But if you're an unhappy money person, that person may be quiet, intimidating, mean, cold, not friendly. So when you think of doing something, he or she will tell you, no, you're not worth it. We don't have that kind of money. So you're being bossed around and at least not treated nice. The most important thing for your daily happiness is how you interact with money. So that's why I teach happy money concept. And you don't have to become a millionaire or billionaire to have happy money flow in your life.
That makes sense. But one of the things that's difficult for people who have less money is when it comes to this idea of giving, and as much as the soul aspect of self wants to give and give and give, and it's like, well, I only have a choice to give this or to pay my bills with it, especially if they're living paycheck to paycheck. And so how do you get around this idea, or how do you change your concept of money when so often the people that have the negative feelings around it might be in fight or flight? It might be in this survival mode, because I know that when our brains are in survival mode, it's almost hard to access those deeper, happy emotions.
Yeah, so for those of you who are struggling with money, you have to go beyond the survival level for yourself and for your family. Otherwise, you can't even breathe. I understand that financial situation can choke you and can put somebody to death. When they think of money, they might have a heart attack, right? So I have a collection of stories, like one of my participants' aunt got a heart attack when she opened the bill. That's how money have an impact on people. So I can really feel the struggle that to make both ends meet. But that could give you also the inspiration to get out of that unpleasant situation. To do that, the financial problem is only two things: you make too little or you spend too much. And I think for people who are struggling financially, they're doing both. For example, they don't have the right job. In other words, they're in the wrong place. And also because of stress, they buy like stupid things. Wealthy people don't shop too much because they're already content. So they don't go to a dollar shop to get like 30 different things. But if you have a financial problem, those are the ones who buy something that they don't even use. So you have to take a look at the finance from emotional perspective. The reason why you're getting paid less is that your job is not the right fit for you. So you have to be at the right place where you can appreciate yourself, you can have all the people appreciate you. So you have to take advantage of your gifts. You have to do what you're good at. A lot of people who are struggling financially, they're doing what that anybody can do. So you have to do something that you can take advantage of your gifts. So those jobs are paying you more, and then your self-image will go up, and then you get another job, and maybe you start your own business, or you're getting paid more by doing what you love. So you have to be at the job that you are good at, and also what you love. And once you're in the right place, you're gonna shine, and then your clients will love you, your boss will love you, your colleagues will respect you. If you're in the situation, the whole thing will shift. So you have to get out of the place that you don't deserve.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that I've realized is the amounts of times that I'm feeling stressed about money, a lot of times I can zoom out and my particular situation isn't any different. I still have a roof over my head. I still have food to eat. I recognize that's not the case for everybody that's struggling with this, but most often, and for most of the people that I know, it's like, oh, I'm stressed about money. And it's because they looked at the numbers in their bank account, which I'm not saying are meaningless, but you do talk about how money is an illusion a lot of the time. So can you elaborate on that? Because I think it's really helpful sometimes to just step back and actually look at what this thing is that we're so stressed out about.
Yeah, so one of my national bestsellers title is "Where Did My Money Disappear?" I wrote it 10 years ago about the collapse of capitalism and the beginning of a new era. And in that, with a sarcasm and also black humor, I talk about the elephant village. That the whole investing was a scam, but everybody's getting involved in the scam, and that's exactly what happened with bitcoins and cryptocurrency. So all the money you thought you had in the bank account or in a crypto wallet, I mean, one of the most important feature of cryptocurrency is that all the data is stored somewhere. So the money is safe. But yet, all the news we hear is like all the money you deposited is now gone. So what's wrong with it? If you're deposited and recorded somewhere, it has to be safe. But, the whole scam, at least for the past 10 years, is cryptocurrency related. So all the money you think you had in your bank account is not there, because that money, right after you received on the bank account, is already loaned to China, and they're building something, big building that not finished yet. And all the money that you deposited is gone to Greece or Africa, 2 seconds after you just punch in the numbers. So all the money you think you have is gone actually. And tomorrow you may be able to withdraw some money, or just, you can transfer the money digitally, but you never know. So we are going to experience some kind of a crash. I've been teaching about this for the past 3 years. So, you have to understand what money is and what money does to you. And unless you find your true financial independence and emotional independence, you get sucked into this capitalism. And we are dancing to the tune that all the big companies are playing. You have to buy this, a new car, you deserve it, cosmetics and the manicures and pedicures and everything, right? So I don't deny commercialism, But do we need like 200 shirts? Do we need 3 cars? Do we need 4 homes? And do we need so many things? Some people may need them, but not everybody. So unless you tell yourself when or how much is enough, you are stuck. You're sucked into this. I want more. I want more. I want to make more money. I want to spend more money. And this is a hell.
I feel called out. I'm looking at my fresh pedicure right now. But you're so right. I definitely know I tend to spend more when I'm feeling, I guess, emotionally unstable. It's like when I'm feeling like I'm not secure in anything. It could be I'm in a new role in life, or I'm not feeling as confident about work. And it's so counterintuitive because you'd think that I would spend more when I felt really good about it. It tends to be quite the opposite.
Yeah. So people react different ways. Some people, when they feel insecure, they make more money. They gamble money. They save more money. They stay indifferent to money. So we have a different way of reacting to the same money worries and fears. That's why I'm so fascinated. We have different personalities, and that's what makes us so interesting.
Talked about the illusion of money, but you also teach about the myth of scarcity. Can you go into detail about that? Because I'm sure there are people living out there that are like, talk about the myth of scarcity, but I actually don't have food in my in my fridge. So why is it a myth?
Because we think that we don't have enough, so that's why we struggle. That's why we worry. That's why we have to save. But when, in fact, if you're connected to a community, if you're connected to your friends and family members, you don't have to worry about it. I feel a little sorry for Western culture people because they're so separated from one another. Like money taboos. I just came back from the world tour, so I really enjoy talking with, say, Finnish people and Swedish and German, English and American and Australian and Chinese. They have different rules, and North American people have such a funny taboos around money. Like, for example, I'm a little off the side track, but this could be interesting. If you're college buddies, or like if you're close friends, like say 10 people, or at the college party, you don't usually ask people how much you make a year or how much you have. It's like a special taboo in North America. So when your classmate asks you, hey, Melissa, how much are you making? Like, how much did you make last year? That could be a very rude question, right? And that could really just put people off. And that could be very embarrassing questions. So money is so much taboo in North America. I hear you don't talk about between brothers and sisters. Like in Japan and China and probably other countries, we casually talk about how much money we make. And we say, wow, congratulations. In a high school reunion, we often talk about how much you make. Wow, Melissa, you're doing great. I'm so happy for you. So that doesn't really happen in North American culture. I'm not just saying that's right or wrong. You could, make them faint when you just directly ask you how much money. But the funny thing is, the same taboo is in Japan about sexual issues. We don't talk about sexual issues as open as North American culture. So if Japanese businessmen are trying to feint you with, how much money you make, you can ask him, how's your sexual life? And then he's going to faint. So it's the same cultural thing. But going back to where we started. So we are believing that bank account is the only security. But I think even in North America, look at Latin people, they're connected. If they have no money, their relatives, uncles, or niece are going to help you. So once you know that you don't have anything in your fridge, there could be a lot of food in your neighbors. So it's almost like you're having a joint account with other people. But if you're separated, if you don't talk about money with your brother and sister, and if you can ask your brother casually, how are you doing? Melissa, can you send me like $5,000? I'm a little short, You don't do that as much. So other culture, they do that. It's all as if like, hey, Melissa, I don't have salt. Can you bring it over next time?
I am reminded of a story when I was working for a startup. I randomly happened to come across a document that had everybody's salaries on it. And I don't have a lot of taboos. I'll talk about anything. I don't feel uncomfortable when people bring up the weirdest topics. And so I always have to remind myself, other people feel uncomfortable about this. Because if it were up to me, I would just talk about money. And so I came across everyone's salaries, and I did end up sharing it with somebody. I accidentally saw this and I was just like, oh my gosh, I saw this. I saw everyone's bonuses. Crazy how different they are, and ended up getting called in to my CEO's office. And it was like this big taboo thing.
Yes.
And I thought about that for a while. At the time, I was in my early 20s, and so I understood even less why this was so taboo. And I thought to myself, this only benefits the head of the company, because if we don't know how much each other's makes, we don't have an expectation to set it against. We're not asking for a raise because we do just as much as this person. He can basically come to each of us individually and sort of drill into our self-worth and be like, well, Melissa doesn't expect to earn more than this, so she doesn't even realize she's making half of what everyone else is.
Right.
And so I wonder how much of those taboos are kind of created by the systems that hold us in.
Yes, exactly. So that's why I'm saying, like, look at this, world is not made as you think it is, but we think that's the way it goes. So once you're out of this scarcity mentality and once you have taboos, I came back from Finland, and the Northern European people, they don't have a taboo about being naked. So men and women, they often, if they're close, they often go to a sauna. Everybody's naked. But in North America, you could probably freak out if your dad, your mom, and brothers and sisters, they all come into the same small room, hot room, naked, right? That's not quite. That's not accepted, right?
Yeah. Well, although I would be like, yay, we're finally all free.
I'd
probably be the first naked one.
So we have to be very careful because other people have social courtesy, because I don't, I have a long hair, I break all the rules, so I have to respect other people's space. So I think in that sense, we're a little 5 years or 10 years advanced in a sense that we are freer. But people are so stuck and people are so afraid. So when I teach about money, a lot of people ask me, Ken, you have no worries because you have all the money. But I was like this before I made money. Money come in so smoothly because I don't have that kind of block. And going back to the scarcity mentality, the reason why I'm not afraid of going bankrupt is, number one, I don't have any debt. But even though I run out of money, I have so many friends and family members who are going to make sure that I won't fall. So I feel protected. So even if I lose everything, I can start writing a book called Joy of Bankruptcy, 8 Steps to Recovery, stuff like that. Or I can just send in my list and say, hi, from Ken Honda. I'm just fresh out of bankruptcy. Can you spare me $1 or $2? I'd be super happy. I'll just create a video for you. So send me something, and then probably I can generate enough money so my family can live on for a while. So that's why I'm not worried. But if you're separated from your parents, family members, and friends, and if you have nobody that you count on, you can lean on, it's scary. So your relationships are more and more important than the numbers in your bank account.
Which is so ironic because we tend to place more value on that earning of the money. Just as a culture, culture, a lot of cultures are about, we spend all this time in our businesses trying to build wealth, whatever, and we sometimes do it at the detriment to our relationships. I think that's one of the things that's changing a lot for me, just reaching my late 30s, starting a family. All of a sudden I'm hyper aware of those connections that I have. And I am fortunate too. I have a lot of people that I could fall back on if I really needed it. I don't think it's many people where I could just reach out and ask for money for no reason. But if I was really struggling, then yeah. And I think that's important to realize because I notice that sometimes in my body's reacting to a stress as though like, this new venture's not going to work. I'm going to lose all my money. I'm going to end up homeless and I'm going to die, And really it's like, wait, why am I panicking like that? Where it's like the worst case scenario is maybe I'll have to move. Maybe I'll even have to move in with my mom, which would be pretty terrible, honestly. That gives me heart palpitations, or my grandma or somewhere. I'd have somewhere to go. And figuring out, Tim Ferriss used to have an exercise about basically thinking about the worst case scenario. And it's counterintuitive to what a lot of people think, where it's like, oh, visualize the best case scenario. But sometimes really playing out that worst case scenario, you realize it's not quite as bad as your nervous system is acting like it is.
Yeah, so I think we are so worried and fight or flight mode because our survival is tied with money. Like 300 years ago, all of us are farmers. So we used to grow our own food. So food is right there. But after, we moved into the city and started working in a factory, everything costs something, like the food and the rent and the water. So I think money and our survival were strongly tied in our mind. That's why we are so scared that one day we may run out of money. And it goes deeper than what it really is.
We talked about how we have these different relationships with money, and sometimes mine might be completely different than the rest of society. And that's fine. It's the society I live in. I do kind of have to just respect people's comfort levels. But what if it's a closer relationship? Like it's between two partners and they have very different ways of communicating. Maybe one wants to communicate, the other one doesn't. One has more fear around money, the other one doesn't. How do you come together and make that an effective or productive conversation or relationship without pushing one too far?
I think in relationships, everything is negotiable and everything could be taboo. I've done a lot of family and couple counseling with money. And what's interesting is that when they started their relationship, they're attracted to the opposite side, characters. The spender and money maker, they are like, instantly attracted to one another. Because from the spender perspective, money maker are the solution. Wow, thank you. You're making a lot of money. Now, if I get married to you, I get to spend a lot of money. And so from a moneymaker's perspective, these men or women are so attractive because they know how to enjoy life. These guys or women, they are focused on money making, so they don't know how to enjoy life. So they are instantly attracted. But after 5 years, that's when they come to my counseling. They're complaining about the problems, but they are the exact reasons why they got together. So moneymakers, they have to slow down and appreciate to enjoy with the spender people. And the spender people need to appreciate the moneymaker people. So by having a mutual respect and understanding, you can just stay as a couple. But with anything else, like sexual issues, people want to have more. The other one may be saying like, oh, have enough, So it's the same thing. Like you have to really meet in the center between the two. So unless you can do that, you cannot have a fulfilling relationship. So of course, the other one, this person wants to talk, the other one wants to avoid the topic because they feel like they're inferior or they're not satisfying the other partner. So it brings a lot of shame, guilt, overjoy. So all kinds of emotions. With money on the sexual issues too. So unless you're willing to face it and heal the feelings together, you will just be in hell. So I think that's exactly the reasons why there are these negative feelings. Because after healing these negative beliefs and feelings between the two, you have a stronger bonds, and also your life will be more fulfilled. So I think negative healings are good. And money pulls out the best and the worst in you. I hope it's good news for you.
Yeah, I haven't covered a lot about my money beliefs just being in a relationship, and so has my husband. And it's interesting looking back on just the way both of us were raised. He grew up, I think we both consider ourselves wealthy, just in that we had amazing families and support. And my family was just middle class, but we had a nice house. I was never embarrassed of bringing people over or anything like that. I never really felt like we were strapped, but my parents had a very traditional way of earning money. My stepdad was a police officer. My mom ended up being a stay-at-home mom after I was about 7. And, it was just putting money in savings, earning your money, whatever. There was no real understanding of growing your money in any other ways other than just that standard earning. And so one of the things that we're focused on is understanding what investing looks like, understanding how to make passive income, understanding these routes of entrepreneurship. And then my husband grew up where they didn't have a lot of financial resources. They had a lot of land, and so he felt very just privileged with what he could do, especially given that he's so athletic. But there was a lot of word choices about like how we can't afford that and money doesn't grow on trees and things like that. And so now that we're having kids, we're trying to be very intentional and cognizant about the way we speak about money, because we can see, I know how he was raised, he knows how I was raised, and we can see it coming out in our own habits and things like that. And so what are some of the things that you have found are really important when you're teaching children about money so that they grow up to have that more happy relationship with money rather than the feelings of fear and scarcity? What are some of the things that you have found are really important when you're teaching children about money so that they grow up to have that more happy relationship with money rather than the feelings of fear and scarcity?
I forgot to mention one thing. When the couple sit down and then talk about money, it's almost, I feel like I'm talking to husband's parents and also this other one's parents too. So like I'm talking with 6 people. So because we have a different way of living. So it's amazing how we can come together and start having. It's almost like our own country. So like you are the princess from your parents' kingdom, and your husband comes from he's a prince who comes from the happy land. And so their constitutions are different. So I suggest, actually, I wrote a book called How to Teach Your Kids Happy Money. And in that book, I wrote about you have to make a constitution on your own because you are starting your own country. Any country can be very different, somewhat like France, US, Japan, like Sweden. There are different countries. Like social welfare, like in Sweden, are pretty well done. So the other day I went to a dentist and had a cleaning up, and the bill, it was $8. And then in North America, it's going to be probably $900, even if you have insurance, right? So because US is operated in a certain belief about money, and like in Germany, Australia, college is free, and if you're making certain money at the age of 30, you have to pay some tuition. And if you're not making that much, you don't have to pay anything. Whereas in North America, you're already in huge debt at the age 20, right? So that's capitalism. So even though we are very similar, France, US, Australia, we have a different rule. So I'm not just in a position of commenting which country is right or wrong, but I'm saying you're starting your own kingdom, Melissa. So you have to sit down with your husband about how you're going to teach. You have enough time, but when your child is about 5 or 6, they're starting to realize about this reality. One time I had a chat with a 6-year-old boy, and I casually asked him, what are you going to get for Christmas? In Japan, we're not Christians, but we celebrate Christmas. So he said, I'm not going to get any Christmas present. Kind of looks sad. And why is that? My mom told me that we are Buddhist. So, if you're Buddhist, we don't get presents. Oh, really? I thought anybody can get a present. And he was saying, Also, my mother also said, we are poor, so we don't get a present. And it really broke my heart. You know, 6-year-old boy, no, he doesn't even know what poor means. But his mother definitely said that. So I had such a hard time dealing with that. That really put me into, writing more books. But so, you have to be careful with your language. Otherwise, when your child is 8 or 9, your husband says something and I said, no, 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 Jack, that's wrong. and you start to fight and your kids get confused. Like, okay, which one should I just, listen to? So I guess you really have to come up with your new constitution. And in that, any country have spending plan, right? So like fiscal year, like you need, are you going to give kids, allowance money or not? Or like, what do you want to teach? So you have a lot on the list.
Yeah, thankfully we have tools like Instagram and TikTok, and it sounds silly, but I've actually learned a lot of tips that I've then shared with my husband or he shared with me where we can source ideas from other people about what sounds good and what doesn't. And
Great
there's been a couple different things that I that I have liked. I saw this one video where the parents were teaching about socialism using Halloween candy. And then I saw another one where they were teaching about taxes and the way they taught about taxes, because that was hard. When I've got my first job and I'm like, oh, I make this much an hour, and I'm like calculating it in my head, and then my paycheck comes and it's like 2/3 of what I thought I was going to make. And I saw this one family, they give allowance, but then the first thing they do is they collect the taxes. And the tax goes into a fund, and at the end of every month, they decide as a family how they're going to use it. But it has to be something like in 3 categories, and they rotate through it, like something that's really needed for the house. But like every certain months, it can actually be used towards something fun, like a vacation or something like that. And so you can actually get this idea of saving it up and contributing to the greater good. I thought that was really unique. But we have discussed that, like I said before, we really want to bring in the idea of building wealth in ways that aren't just the standard ways, especially since my husband and I are both entrepreneurs. And so that's something that we didn't have growing up, but we've learned a lot. And so it's definitely something that we plan to pass down.
And I have a good feeling that you guys are going to figure out, the best plan for your kids. So, kids who have thoughtful parents are blessed ones. But unfortunately, most of us weren't, encouraged to learn about money, or we're just step down and scolded. So that's what the reality is. So I hope a lot of more conscious parents will be born. So that's another reason why I need to write more books on and how to raise your kids in a happy money way. And it's like a new operating system, and it's totally different from regular ones. Regular teaching. Don't waste money, and then and work hard, and those work ethics are great, but it's sort of obsolete, So you have to come up with a new plan. So it's interesting. It's so chaotic about money. How to deal with money? There are like 20 different ways to deal with it, and so it's different. I'm not saying once again what is right or right is wrong. Which one are you going to install and start operating on its own? So you have to choose the right software.
Yeah, I'm going to choose the software of banking on you to write a children's series within the next 4 years. That'd be good timing for our family.
All right.
But
Thank you for the order.
Yeah, I'll just put that in the Kickstarter campaign for you. But we've talked about how so many of our problems are actually sort of a mindset issue. I felt a little called out when you're like, yeah, it's usually people that are spending too much. I'm like, yeah, I can actually think back to all of my money issues, even when I was like a poor college student. It was still overspending. I specifically remember being in college and being at the mall, and there was this purse I really wanted, and I actually thought to myself, my bank lets me overdraft $100 so I can afford this purse. So I've really had to work up to being a more conscious spender. But what about people who actually do not just feel poor, but they don't have the money in their bank account, especially now that prices have been fluctuating so much.
Mm-hmm.
So many people in my town have been voicing their concern over grocery prices and just
Mm-hmm.
seeing maybe they had a budget 6 months ago and now that budget's out the window to just afford what
Mm-hmm.
they were affording before. And so, what about the people that are truly struggling day to
Mm-hmm.
day? How do they still build that happy money relationship?
Mm-hmm. I told you before, money problems, there are only two. You're making too little, spending too much. And this time, you have to spend too much, right? So this side, you cannot really control. So you have to work on the other side, which is making more money. So I think this whole world situation will put us in a new perspective. I think we're just called for a new creativity. Everyone in the whole world has to come up with something new, some new creative ways to make extra $300-400 a month. So I think this is very exciting. I think finally my age has come because we get to be creative in supporting other people. Maybe you want to learn how to give a manicure session or how to just read horoscope, nice haircut, makeup may help support the makeup. Whatever that is, you have to come up with new ways to help people. There are many ways to make a little money on the side, and that could go into something big later on. So you have to come up with new ideas, and all the new ideas are born at the hardest time of your life. One of my friends was running a bed and breakfast in the countryside, but there's no customers. So they had no time. They had a lot of time because there's nobody, right? My friend had a lot of time. So she started making something like a crafts, like elephant and stuff. And she displayed it on a reception counter. And very, very few people who stayed in the B&B said, "Oh, that's cute." So everybody was buying something. And then she loved the idea. So she made one room of display for all the crafts she made. So what's funny is that they never visited to stay in the place, but they came to shop her cute crafts. And then second room and the third room, she ended up having the whole entire B&B and turn it into her craft store. And that story didn't end there. So she was asked to do more. So she opened another shop in the city. The second one, the third one, and how many do you think she opened? She ended up having 100 stores nationwide. And after 17 years or something, she sold the whole store to Fortune 500 companies in Japan. And she's happily retired in outside of Tokyo and also Hawaii. And the whole empire started from killing her time. And also she has to make some money because her husband's bed and breakfast was almost at the verge of bankruptcy. So when you have a hard time making both ends meet, that's where you have to be creative. And that would really put you out of misery and start a new life. So I'm not just saying that, anybody can do it, but we have to come up with new ideas.
Yeah, I've found that a lot of times it's in those stressful states where we don't have another option that we realize we've always had another option, and like we haven't allowed ourselves to see it because we've just been seeing it through this lens of I can't lose this job or I have to get this job or whatever it is. It reminds me of a conversation I had with my parents when I was first looking into entrepreneurship. One of the first things that I dabbled with was having a travel blog. And my stepdad just could not understand. He's like, "Well, you still need a job. How are you going to travel all the time and keep a job?" And I'm like, "No, I can create a job out of this." And it didn't end up being my purposeful thing that I landed on, but it was my first step of really understanding creating a website, creating partnerships, affiliate marketing. Like it got me my foot in the door. And then I started to get more intentional and ask myself the questions that allowed me to uncover the things that were really meaningful to me, the things that I was endlessly curious about. And ultimately, I realized I don't want to share with people where I went on my travels. I just want to travel and come back and work or travel while I'm working, but I don't want to share with people what I'm doing the whole time. And so I ask myself, what am I endlessly curious about? What am I already learning about because I just can't help myself? What do people ask me questions about? And that ended up leading to the idea of mind love and just the power of the mind and how we have more control and options and freedom than we really think we do. And so I think that plays so perfectly with that. But I've also found that maybe it's that I can't see it when I'm in certain states of mind or certain states of stress, but there's also this element of spirituality for me where when I feel really aligned, when I'm doing all of my practices, ideas will come to me, opportunities will flow to me. And so I'm curious what your thoughts are about any sort of spiritual element to money.
Yeah, I just finished a 6 months course on spiritual money. So I have all the fascinating stories about how money comes into your life in a very spiritual way. So money is energy, as I stated in the book. Money itself is neutral, but it could carry good energy, bad energy. If you are surrounded by happy energy, your money will have the energy. And then people who receive happy money from you will feel happy. So spiritually too, if you impact people in a deep way, people appreciate you. So the more people you support, the more money you receive. It's as simple as that. So that's why I've been teaching people how to find your gifts and start giving spiritually. And once you start giving who you are and start sharing what you do and who you are, people will appreciate you. This appreciation is energy. So once there is enough people who appreciate you, there is a buildup. For example, I told you that I gave away 100,000 copies of my booklets, and people thought I was crazy because it cost me something like 100,000 US dollars for a gift. People thought it's crazy, but I really enjoyed it. So I gave people about the tips on happiness and abundance. And I got thousands of testimonials and fun comments, feedback from the booklet. And based on that, I came up with a book. So I paid because I spent $100,000 for the gift, but I got more for book royalty as a result of giving. So in spirituality, all the gift you give is stored somewhere. I call it heaven's account, and it's stored somewhere. And once again, also, if you have lost money in the past with cryptocurrency investing or stock or scam, whatever the money you lost, it's not completely lost forever. I think it's stored somewhere in the heaven, because the goddess of abundance came in and said, "Oh, you don't know how to control money, so we're gonna confiscate the money and just store it temporarily at the heaven's safe deposit. And when you're ready, we'll send the money back." I think that's a deal. And a lot of people want to know the passcode. So the passcode is in your heart. And if you start loving yourself, if you start loving other people and start sharing who you are, and then that will be melted, and then the account will be released in the process. So that's why I teach people to do more of what you love, because it's going to melt that ice away, and people can notice you. People will ask you more for cooking and for sharing and mentoring and coaching and counseling or connecting, whatever you're good at. So if you do that more, that will come in as appreciation. So it's a spiritual energy. But if you receive enough spiritual energy, that gets translated into numbers. And it might take a little while, usually 3 months to 2 years, or it could be 3 years. But your spiritual giving will definitely count. So don't stop there, because if you stop, it's stored in somewhere over there.
Yeah, I think I trust the Heavenly Reserve more than I trust the Federal Reserve. So, well, we have covered a lot today, so much to work with. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are just resonating with the ideas about not just overspending, but that emotion that really comes with our spending habits, our saving habits, and how to transform that. So for listeners that are interested in learning more about you, finding your other books, where is the best place for them to connect?
So you can find all the information at kenhonda.com. I'm going to share more about what I teach into English now. I finally found great volunteers, like 20 people. So we're going to translate a lot of what I teach. And also I started a community called Arigato Living Community. People come from like 20 different countries. So we get together once a month or twice based on what time zone. So we have a lot of North American people, European people, and also Indians and Australians and East Asians. So there I teach about happy money and stuff. So if you want to learn more about that, I hope you can join the community.
All the links for this episode will be at mindlove.com/286. Your challenge for this week is to become aware of your current money situation. And I don't just mean become aware of your finances. I mean, become aware of the energy that you're carrying around money. When you think of your financial situation, what do you feel? When you think of spending money, how does that make you feel? Do you feel like you have any impulsive behaviors or habits around money? I know I have some of those still that I'm working on, so no judgment. The first step is always awareness. And if that's all you do with the challenge this week, that's good enough, because that awareness is what allows you to tap into your inner wisdom and see the next step of what to do. But you have to be really honest about what you're feeling, what you're thinking when this topic comes to mind. Now, if you want to take it a step further, get practical. I remember doing a money challenge a while back, and one of the first steps was just to actually become aware of my money situation, like log into my banks and my credit cards, see how much debt I'm in, see how much cash flow I have, and start to treat money like the sacred thing that it is, like you cherish it rather than you just throw it away or hoard it or whatever that may be. And so that includes the cash that you have in your wallet. Don't just crumple your money up and throw it in a pocket. Spread it out. Put it neatly in your wallet. Maybe even get a new wallet. I know that's another spending thing, but if it's going to serve your higher good, these are the things worth spending on. One of the biggest shifts that I've made recently with money was I could feel myself, especially during the lockdowns and just the chaos of what was going on in the world, trying to have control over my situation by making myself feel better with spending. And so I created categories of what's actually worth spending money on, which things I can buy on the day that I think of them versus should I wait a night or 3 to really see if it's something that I still want or need. And so now for the material things, I put them on a list. And if at the end of the week I still want them, it goes up in priority. And then I can prioritize the things that I'm looking at rather than just buying them each individually and not really seeing how much that adds up. And instead, those go on a list. But I am able to spend on things that are going to level myself up. For example, health, and not just random expensive wellness products. I mean like the tea that I want or a supplement, and also education. So if there's a new course that's going to help me in my business or in my self-development, I think that is quite worthwhile to spend money on. Those are the things that I want to improve in my life. Those are the things in which it creates an investment in myself rather than just giving my money out to others. So let me know how it goes. Reach out to me on Instagram at mindlovemelissa. And if you have any other tips, please share them with me, and I'd love to share them with the community. If you found this episode helpful, please send it to a friend or take a screenshot and tag Mind Love Melissa and Mind Love Podcast. I love seeing what you guys think about episodes. Also, when you share and write something about it, it just totally lights up my world. You can also leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Absolutely love those as well. And finally, there's the brand new Mind Love membership, and it is packed full of value. Seriously, I'm prepping for next month already. There's so many amazing courses. I did a survey and a lot of you wanted a way to get your hands on the material and actually figure out ways to integrate it into your lives and be accountable for that. And so that's what I created this membership for. So you can find that at mindlove.com/membership. And that's all for today. So thanks for giving your mind a little love today, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning into Your Higher Frequency with Mind Love. Head to mindlove.com for a free gift to keep your vibes up until next week.
Your business is one of a kind, so your website should be too. With Wix, it's easy, almost too easy, to create a website that's perfectly yours. Just tell AI what kind of site you want to build or choose from thousands of templates. Change whatever you want whenever you want and get everything you need to start running your business your way. No matter what you sell or what you aspire to be, you can do it all yourself on Wix.
Wherever you go, whatever they get into, from chill time to everyday adventures, protect your dog from parasites with Credelio Quattro. For full safety information, side effects, and warnings, visit CredeliaQuattroLabel.com. Consult your vet or call 1-888-545-5973. Ask your vet for Credelio Quattro and visit QuattroDog.com.